Which brings us back to Wagner and its chief. Who is this man? Why is he called Putin's chef? How did he become so powerful in Russia, and then why did he challenge Putin and his power? The Wagner group is fighting in Ukraine, but this is not the first time they're fighting Russia's war. They've done it before in many other countries. They operate as a private army, not bound by global conventions. They do Russia's dirty work and give the Kremlin plausible deniability in wars. Our next report tells you more about this operation. Meet Putin's chef, Yevgeny Prigozhin, a 62-year-old man heading the Kremlin-backed Wagner group. His latest crime? Leading a rebellion against President Putin. And that's just the latest. The Wagner chief has had quite a journey. A 9-year prison sentence as a teenager, selling hot dogs on the streets of Russia, setting up a business empire, and eventually leading a powerful private army, one that has become a critical asset for Moscow. All these credentials belong to Yevgeny Prigozhin. Recently, you may have seen angry videos of him from the battlefield in Ukraine, providing updates almost like on behalf of Russia, and sometimes abusing Moscow's defense establishment for the lack of ammunition for his troops.
These are someone's fathers and someone's sons. Those who don't give us ammunition will eat their guts in hell. Our shortage of ammunition is at 70%. Shoigu, Gerasimov, where is the ammunition?
Now he went a step ahead. Much to the dismay of Moscow, the weekend saw dramatic scenes in the Russian capital, led by Prigozhin. Troops from his Wagner group were marching to Moscow, to what many called a coup. But now you know the fate of this coup attempt. The entire episode has raised some serious questions, though. Who exactly is Yevgeny Prigozhin? How influential is he in the power circles? And what is the mercenary group that he leads? Let's start from the beginning. Prigozhin was born in St. Petersburg in 1961. Incidentally, President Vladimir Putin's home city. A tumultuous childhood was only the start of troubles for him. Young Prigozhin found himself on the wrong side of the law. It was March 1980. Reportedly, he and his accomplices attacked and robbed a woman of her gold. In 1981, he was sentenced to prison for 9 years. By 1990, things had changed. The Soviet Union was on the brink of collapse, and Prigozhin too was looking for other avenues. So he started from the bottom. He set up stalls and began selling hot dogs in Leningrad. Over the years, his business expanded, and so did his influence. It was at around the turn of the century that he caught the attention of Vladimir Putin, not for the role that Prigozhin is known for today. Instead, it was Putin's admiration for his restaurant in New Ireland. It's safe to say that's where the trust began developing. Soon, Prigozhin's company Concord was given the task of supplying food to the Kremlin. That's how he earned the nickname Putin's chef. And the president's chef would go on to becoming a key aide of Vladimir Putin, especially in defense matters. Then came the turning point. The year was 2014. Russia invaded Crimea, and Prigozhin established the Wagner Group, a group of mercenaries, a private army that fought key battles for Russia overseas, with the blessings of the Kremlin, of course.
He sees himself as a classic Russian hard nut. He became a close favorite of President Putin, and in establishing and overseeing and deploying the Wagner Group, he has done things around the world which the Russian regime didn't want to use the Russian military for because it wasn't deniable and they might be held accountable.
The deal was simple. Prigozhin would get lucrative defense contracts from the Kremlin, and he would fight key battles for Moscow. While this group wasn't part of the Russian army, the aim of the group was just one: to win battles for Russia. Since its formation, the Wagner Group has had its footprints in countries like Syria, Libya, the Central African Republic, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger, and most recently in Ukraine. The growth of this private military group has been staggering, so much so that despite mercenaries being illegal in Russia, the Wagner Group established itself as a private company. It has a swanky headquarters for itself in St. Petersburg. It has grown in size too. Around the time of its formation, Wagner had just 5,000 fighters. These were believed to be mostly veterans. the experienced ones from Russia's elite regiments and special forces. As of today, the group is said to have around 50,000 fighters. Reports say 80% of Wagner troops in Ukraine have been drawn from prisons. When the war broke out in February last year, the Wagner group's entry was almost a given. And it did not disappoint Moscow. Wagner is said to have entered the war in March 2022 and fought alongside the Russian army. But this time, things were a bit different. The Wagner chief began accusing Moscow of not providing ammunition, with Russia's defense minister and army chief being his key targets.
I am criticizing the defense minister Sergei Shoigu and chief of the general staff Valery Gerasimov because I believe they do not fulfill their duties.
Many say the recent coup attempt was a result of this growing frustration. So where does it leave Wagner and its chief now? The ball, as they say, is in Putin's court. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Israeli lawmakers have begun debating a proposed judicial overhaul, sparking mass protests in the country. In Myanmar, authorities have seized illegal drugs worth $180 million to mark World Drug Day. And monsoon has arrived in India. The states of Haryana and Himachal Pradesh have witnessed flash floods and landslides, though. And finally, what makes June the 26th significant? We're going back to history, to the year 1945, when the UN Charter was signed by representatives of the 50 countries that were participating in San Francisco. It is the founding document of the United Nations. We'll leave you with these images. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Labour President Truman arrives to attend the last sales, and the world is now final signing of the charter. The signing is a historic. Fellow delegates,
if we had had this charter a few years ago,
You may have seen headlines of yet another mass shooting in America, gun terror. We're in Richmond, some 40 miles from Washington, D.C., and we're here at a shooting range. We'll speak to people here to try to understand why the average American takes up guns. Look at this. This is an ad for a gun.
There are about 400 million firearms in the United States. There are about 600,000 negative outcomes.
This is the only country, I think, which has such frequent incidents of school shootings.
And when you take 600,000 and you divide it by 400 million, that's a very, 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 very small percentage negative outcomes.
This is America for you. It's a country which has more guns than people.